If this isn't a Midwestern American city, then God didn't make little green apples, and it don't rain in Indianapolis in the summertime. Indianapolis on the surface is completely typical of its part of the world, with a normal quota of churches and monuments. Once each year, however, Indianapolis is different, when the quiet of the surrounding farms is shattered by this sound. The Indianapolis 500. What does it mean to win it? Listen to the drivers.
Winning the Indianapolis 500 to me would mean a great deal. First of all, it would mean the second win. Second of all, it means an awful lot of money. And third, I guess it just means an awful lot of prestige and meeting a lot of nice people like I had happen this last year to me.
Well, it would mean a lot, but I wouldn't be unhappy if I don't win. The reason I said I've had my chances 3 times and enjoyed each and every one of them, so you can't be too piggish about a thing like this.
I know every driver that's ever even thought about coming to Speedway is really looking forward to winning it. I've been cheated twice, and I hope this is the third time I don't get cheated out of it.
In many ways, it's the biggest everything, really. It's not only the biggest race, it's the biggest paying race. It's the toughest one to win, and a lot of times it's the biggest pain in the neck. I'd like to win it and get it over with.
I would hold it very dear if I could run it 200 laps and really give it a fighting chance at winning this race.
Indy 1969, America's greatest race. You'll see it today on ABC's Wide World of Sports. Spanning the globe to bring you the constant variety of sport, the thrill of victory, and the agony of defeat. The human drama of athletic competition. This is ABC's Wide World of Sports. Brought to you by Allstate Insurance Companies. For insurance to protect your car, your home, your life and health, business too, you're in good hands with Allstate. By the Shell Oil Company, makers of Super Shell, the gasoline for good mileage. Super Shell in the clean white pump, wherever you see the sign. And by Weyerhaeuser, the company that's working on tomorrow's ideas in pulp, paper, packaging, lumber, plywood, and other building materials. There are very few of the great sports events of the world where the crowd itself becomes an important part of the occasion, something that helps to lend the excitement and the enchantment to what is going on. So it is at the Indianapolis 500. Each year, people come from all over America, some 300,000 of them on this Memorial Day, to see the big race at Indy. They particularly come from the Midwest because this is the way Mid-America celebrates the first big holiday of the summer. It's hot today the way it ought to be for such an occasion. They come from the farms, from the small towns, and from the big cities. As always, 33 cars are poised for the start. On the first row, a most interesting combination. On the pole, fastest qualifying speed, A.J. Foyt. He's won the race 3 times. No man has ever won it 4 times. Next to him, probably the greatest driver of this day who's never won the race, Mario Andretti. And on the outside, the defending champion, 1968 winner, Bobby Unser. Working with me will be 2-time Indy champion Roger Ward and Chrissy Kanamaki. Also on today's program, you'll be seeing a preview of the United States Open Golf Championship featuring the defending champion, Lee Trevino. Now, the story here at Indy is one that began way back early in the month of May. Let's go back now. Traditionally, the track opens on May 1st for practice, car testing, and driver's tests. Rookies must pass a series of exhaustive trials before they're eligible to qualify. Qualifying itself takes place on 2 weekends. As practice speeds increase during the month, so do incidents like these. Spins aren't only for rookies. That's Bobby Unser, the champ. And that's the veteran, capable driver, Graham Hill. In fact, if there is a single word to sum up Indianapolis, it's unpredictable. Like last year, Joe Leonard, leading the race with 10 laps to go when suddenly his turbine car stopped. Suddenly and mysteriously just stopped. It was the heartbreak of a lifetime for owner Andy Granatelli, who had experienced many other disappointments in 22 years of coming to Indianapolis. Leonard walked back to the pits as his car was pushed into the infield. Chris Economaki talked to Andy.
Andy, what about your luck in this business? Over the years, it's really been bad, hasn't it?
What's that?
Luck? What's that? Said Andy Granatelli. Well, luck figures in qualifying at Indy as positions in the starting line are drawn out of a hat. First spot on Saturday, May 17th, went to rookie Jigger Sorois. It rained in the morning and through the early afternoon. Then it cleared, and the moment of a rookie driver's career had arrived for Jigger Sorois.
The track is now open for qualification. And the first car out will be Jigger Sorois in car number 14.
Car number 14 was on the track, ready to give it a try. Jigger took 3 of the required 4 laps. Then, however, his owner and chief mechanic were dissatisfied with the speed, and they gave him the yellow flag, stopping the qualification attempt. Arnie Knepper was next in line, but it began to rain again. Then the rain really came down and the day was a complete washout. So was Sunday, May 18th. For the first time in history, the entire first weekend was rained out. As cars were pushed back to the garages, the gasoline alley gossip was about the accident the previous evening. Al Unser, a favorite, broke his leg while fooling around on a motorcycle. That left the 2 cars of the Parnelli-Jones team without a driver.
What does the rain mean to you?
Well, right now, if he throws the right car, it means I'll gin. No, actually, the rain really helped us today because it's been late before we could have got out. I mean, we drawed number 32 to qualify, and the way it looks this afternoon, they just got to qualify a few, so it helped me for this week.
It was finished for that day. The pole position would still be up for grabs the following weekend. Monday, May 19th, the sun shone again on Indianapolis, and the low-slung race cars moved out onto the track for more practice. Roger Ward, 2-time Indy winner, is with me now. Roger, you might make a comment on the incredibly small road clearance of these cars.
Well, actually, as the years have progressed, the cars have gotten lower and lower, primarily due to aerodynamics. But along with that, people are working towards getting a lower center of gravity, which, in the opinion of many, would make a car handle actually better. This car, as you can see, is about 2.5 inches off the ground, or that's how much road clearance. Whereas where his finger was there at the last moment was 13 inches above the ground, and when I first came to Indianapolis, that's about the amount of road clearance.
Look at the change in tires through the years. On the left is the tire that you, Roger, won with in 1962. In the middle is the present-day tire, and on the right is the tire that Ray Haroon rode on in the first Indianapolis 500 when he was the winner.
Been a tremendous amount of progress in terms of tire development.
Well, there were new arrivals also on Monday. Jochen Rindt, and there's Colin Chapman, the designer, and former Indy champion Graham Hill arrived back from the Grand Prix of Monaco, which had been won by Hill for a record 5th time. And back at the track, Mario Andretti was out for practice in a Lotus, one of the cars prepared and designed by Colin Chapman. A beautiful-looking thing. As Clint Broder watched, suddenly, there was a crash. It looked like real disaster for Mario Andretti.
And of course, Art Pollard was right behind there in a very dangerous situation.
Well, here it is again, Roger. Into the wall, the nose flew off completely, wheels off.
And you can see Mario jumping out almost before the car is stopped and running to the wall with only minor burns.
And here's the way the car turned out.
A miracle that he could walk away from such a fantastic accident.
Boy, he's a tough little guy, isn't he? really didn't look too shaken about it either.
He certainly has a tremendous amount of courage, and when you look at that automobile, you wonder how anyone could have survived such a crash.
This broken hub caused the crash. Here was Mario's reaction.
I feel fine, ready to go with the other car.
Well, that was it. It meant that Andretti would have to go with his backup car, the Bronner Hawk, in which he won a major race in California recently.
Well, Jim, this is a fine race car, but it's a two-wheel drive race car, and Mario had picked the four-wheel drive Lotus because he honestly felt it would give him some advantages on race day.
Well, as he went out the next day and he was right back at it, Mario put on a fire-repellent face mask that gives almost complete protection.
I think if he'd have worn that face mask yesterday, probably he would not have had those facial burns.
But as we said, Mario was right back at it, practicing, getting the Hawk in shape with only 3 days to go. Suddenly, it was Saturday, May 24th, the pole position still undecided.
The stage today is different than the stage a week ago today. First of all, the sun is shining. But the drivers and owners are under the gun. For if they don't qualify by 6 o'clock tomorrow, they may not get in the Indianapolis 500. There are 64 cars on the grounds, 51 of which have practiced, and only 51 eligible drivers. The first driver to go will be Arnie Knepper in number 29.
Knepper was in the unusual position of having known for almost a full week that he would, in fact, be first in line, first to take to that racetrack and try to qualify for the Indianapolis 500. Arnie moved out of the pits, and qualify he did at 166.220. Gordon Johncock qualified at better than 168 in a car representing the Gilmore Broadcasting Company, an ABC affiliate, complete with a Wide World of Sports sticker. Then it was the turn of A.J. Foyt, the picture of concentration, three-time winner of the race.
And one of those men who really wants that pole position.
Driving his own orange Coyote car. Andretti waited in line and watched. A.J.'s time, 170.568, easily the best time of the day. His reaction?
AJ, 70 and a half. Are you pleased with it?
No, Chris, we're not. I felt sure we'd break the record, the 1 and 4 lap record. We've been running fast enough, but the wastegate actually broke on it, is what happened to it.
Well, if it was all that bad, maybe Mario Andretti could beat it and take the pole position away from A.J. Foyt. Remember, this car only had 3 days of preparation specifically for Indianapolis.
And along with that, Mario had a lot of work to do on himself emotionally, because after that kind of an accident, you certainly couldn't be as ready as you might be.
A.J. watched as Mario did 169.851. Not good enough to beat out Foyt. It was second best to this point, however. Mario had a few words on his performance.
Mario, it's been a long month for you. Are you happy or are you down right now?
Well, I'm happy we're in the show. Naturally, I thought we'd be able to go a little quicker, but I did the best I could, really.
How do you feel, Mario, after that crash the other day?
Well, I feel fine physically. I don't think I should have any problem. It's just that all of a sudden we had this setback, and the equipment had to be prepared in time, and in other words, all of a sudden we were back to the 5th of May, actually, and only 2 days to get up to speed. So all in all, as I said, I'm happy.
So was Andy Granatelli. Bobby Unser went out, the defending champion. And Al Unser, he of the motorcycle ride and the broken leg, watched as his brother tried to qualify. In his checkered racer, he did 169.683, third fastest.
Bobby, you put it in the front row. Do you think you'll stay there?
Well, I doubt it, Chris. Like I say, I'm still not happy with the time, but it's a whole lot better than I've been running all month, so I'm sure not complaining.
Roger McCluskey did 168.3. He was in the second row. Leroy Yarborough, stock car driver, made the third row. Dan Gurney in the fourth row with his stock block engine. Only one in the race. Joe Leonard right next to Gurney on the start. And Art Pollard right next to Leonard on the other side. Rookie Mark Donahue right behind A.J. Foyt. Mel Kenyon back in the 8th row. Lloyd Ruby in disappointing 20th position. Dennis Holm, Gurney's teammate, in the 9th row. One man who was not disappointed with his speed in any way, however, was young Gary Bettenhausen, son of the great Tony, who was killed in practice on this track.
Gary, everybody I've talked to today has been complaining about losing speed, and you've come in here faster than you've ever gone. What was the difference?
Well, Chris, I don't really know. I felt like I was actually running slower. I thought I was running about 165 miles an hour. We had a problem this morning. The car wouldn't even run. So we made some changes in the ignition and went back out. And when I went out to qualify, I didn't even know if the engine would run. And it did have a real bad miss in it coming off the corners, but it didn't really hurt me. And then also down in number 1 corner, I was pushing the front end real bad. So I really can't figure out why I ran as fast as I did.
Gary, ever think of your dad when you're out there?
Yes, I thought of him just before I went out to qualify. I think maybe he helped me a little bit.
All in all on that day, 25 cars qualified for the race. 8 spots were left to fill on the next day, Sunday, May 25th, the final day of qualifying, with 8 places in the field still open for the great race. The 2 remaining Lotuses would not be making the attempt. Designer Colin Chapman explained exactly why.
Colin, why were the cars withdrawn?
I'm afraid there's a combination of circumstances, really, but the main factor is that, as you know, we had an accident with Mario's sister car last Wednesday, and investigations of the car showed that there was a suspected heat treatment on some of the hub parts, and we couldn't be sure that this same problem wouldn't affect the other 2 cars in the team. We tried to have new parts made in the time, but at 5 o'clock this morning it just became evident that the new parts we hoped that would arrive weren't in fact going to arrive, and we had no alternative but to withdraw the cars.
It was back to Britain and wait till next year. On this day, Bill Vukovic qualified first in J.C. Agajanian's number 98. Others who filled out the field were George Falmer, Bruce Walkup, Jack Brabham, Carl Williams, Larry Dixon, and Bobby Johns. The final spot, however, was still in doubt. Rick Muther had qualified 33rd, but any car that could go faster than he had in the remaining time would bump him from the field. And late in the day, one went out to try to do it. It was number 92, a Repco Brabham driven by Peter Revson. Muther sweating it out. Revson, one of the heirs to the Revlon Cosmetics fortune, giving it his all to try to qualify at Indy. When a checkered flag went out, there was no question, Muther knew it. He had been bumped. Revson into the pits, the dream of a young driver's lifetime. He had qualified to race in the Indianapolis 500. A happy young man. And if Muther was crushed, what about Jigger Sorois, who would be on the pole if he had completed his run last week?
Jigger, did you know that if you'd taken it a week ago, you'd be on the pole right now and 4th on the bump list?
Would we right now?
We would.
I'm gonna go get a gun.
I'm gonna go get a gun. No sadder words were ever spoken. We'll be back in a minute. There are certain songs in sport that stir the emotions. My Old Kentucky Home at the Derby, the Notre Dame victory song after a touchdown, and here the playing of Back Home in Indiana before the start of the 500. Memorial Day in Indianapolis, and 33 brave men ready to try to win it all. Now we arrive at the moment that, believe me, brings butterflies to the stomach of the bravest, most experienced race driver in the world. We're about to hear the traditional words from Tony Hulman, owner of the Indianapolis Motor Speedway.
Gentlemen, Start your engine.
These strange, specialized machines ready to go now, and capable of starting themselves. They'll need a push to get going, but then they fulfill their only purpose for existence, to race. A little water on the hands helps the grip on the wheel. Moving into motion now. Ready to start the pace lap. Wild sound of these turbocharged Fords and Offenhauser engines for the most part. One stock block engine driven by Dan Gurney. And as always, Roger, somebody can't get started.
Yes, and it's Leroy Yarbrough. He's right at this moment a very anxious young man. It appears as though they're having a problem with his starter.
And the procedure now, of course?
Well, he'll have to push his car off the racetrack into pit alley and hopefully there get the car started in time to rejoin the field.
Meanwhile, the other 32 cars are trying to form themselves into neat rows of 3 in their previously assigned positions, the positions that they won in all that competition during qualification. This huge crowd of more than 300,000 staring right now mostly at Leroy Yarbrough's car. On the right, on the pole, 3-time winner A.J. Foyt. Next to him, Mario Andretti, looking for his first win. And on the outside, the defending champion, Bobby Unser.
And Jim, Leroy's car is being pushed now to the pit alley where hopefully they can get it started.
And of course, a very strict rule, the race will not wait for you.
And they are not allowed to push the car to start it, so he's hoping that they can get it started right away.
Meanwhile, the rest of the cars are getting pretty well lined up. They could get the green flag this time. In the third row, that empty space is for Yarbrough. Doesn't look like he could possibly get up there, even if he does get started. He is started, and out of the pits now.
And the cars are just at the end of the back straightaway, so he could conceivably catch the field, but whether he can get into his position is rather doubtful.
Okay, there's Gurney, number 48, right alongside of him. Leonard and Pollard. And here is Yarbrough, moving past row after row, frantically trying to get up to that third row, his assigned position.
They're on the short straightaway before turn 4, and now entering turn 4 towards the front straightaway.
There's the first row, the second, and you see the empty spot for Leroy in the third row.
And Leroy still jockeying for a position.
They're going to get the green flag this time. Pace car is off the track. Stand by for the start at Indianapolis. This is it. Mario Andretti instantly diving for that corner, and he's got Foyt in the first turn. Andretti has taken the lead. Foyt is second, Bobby Unser is third, and Roger McCluskey is fourth. Just what you'd expect out of Mario on that first turn, wasn't it, Roger?
Well, yes, it is. However, with Foyt's experience, you might actually feel that perhaps from the pole position he could grab the lead, but Mario and Foyt are both very clever race drivers, and it's hard to say who could outguess the other.
And right now, Roger McCluskey is moving up alongside and passing last year's winner, Bobby Unser. So we have 3 reddish cars in appearance up on front. Mario Andretti in car number 2 is the leader. Car number 6, A.J. Foyt, is in second place. And whoops, there is Bruce Walkup in car number 16. Looks like he's had it for the day, and the race has hardly begun.
And of course, he's a rookie, so he actually still hasn't driven even 1 lap of competition. A very disappointing breakdown for him.
32 cars left in the field now. Andretti really stretching it out a little bit right now in his car number 2. Remember, Foyt is number 6 in second place, and McCluskey, number 82, is a very close third right now. Unser dropping back a little bit into 4th place.
Actually, the first 4 cars have moved away from the field just a little bit, so there's a little gap between the 4th and 5th place cars. But a lot of traffic behind the 4th place car.
The Indianapolis 500, one of so many great races sponsored by the United States Auto Club. And here now, a look at the artistry of taking turn 1 in almost dreamlike slow motion.
It looks as though they're almost floating through that turn when you realize how much effort goes into making a turn at speeds like this. It's unbelievable that the cars could come through there so smoothly. There's Mark Donahue, an extremely talented young race driver.
We see them, as we say, in ultra slow motion. How fast are you really going through turn 1 here?
They're actually averaging through that turn about 155 miles an hour. So at the slowest point, perhaps 150.
The speeds, of course, have grown incredible here at Indianapolis. I was struck by that when starter Harlan Fengler told them to slow down to 125 under the yellow flag. Into the pits comes Jack Brabham in his own car, and Billy Vukovich has had it. Bill Vukovich, the son of a great race driver who was killed on this track after winning the race twice in a row, is out of the race. And now there goes A.J. Foyt passing Andretti. Foyt in car number 6, taking the lead as they go through turn 1 again.
Well, of course, this is what you might expect. A.J. is one of those race drivers who certainly doesn't like to run second, and his car is performing well, perhaps a chance to get the tires properly seated in, and now he's after him, and we'll have to wait and see what happens, whether he can open up a lead on Mario or not.
And here is one of the great sights in sport today, anytime that A.J. Foyt and Mario Andretti get hooked up in a battle for the lead. And look at this, Roger. Art Pollard in an Andy Granatelli car is slowing down, and it looks like he'll be out of the race. Shades of last year and the year before. And now into the pits, there's Gordon Johncock, apparently with a tire problem.
Well, they may have cut that tire, or perhaps he's experiencing some kind of problem with the tires. And of course, if he is, that could certainly change the complexion of this race very rapidly.
And here is Art Pollard limping into the pits, smoke coming from the back of the car.
Real tough break for Art. I know he was looking forward to this race.
And of the 3 Granatelli cars that started this race, now there are only 2. Andy Granatelli must be thinking of last year and the year before. Let's get out of Chris Economaki in the pits now.
All right, you're here awfully early. What was the trouble?
Well, we developed something in the drivetrain or the drive shaft with started clunking and rattling and diving all over the track, so I thought I better pull in. There was no way I could keep it on the track at all.
And now another car into the pits. This is Bobby Unser, the defending champion here in his car number 1. USAC national champion into the pits for an unscheduled pit stop.
Yes, this is much too early for a scheduled pit stop. Apparently, he has got some kind of a problem. Looks as though they're going to change a tire on his automobile, too. So apparently, there are going to be some tire problems today. And now, Jim, there's a 3-way battle for the lead developing as Roger McCluskey joins into the battle. And, of course, Bobby Unser's car is moving back onto the racetrack.
That's right. It is A.J. Foyt in car number 6, Mario Andretti in car number 2. Jim McElreath's car's on fire. McElreath heading into the first turn. I hope he can stop that thing and get out of it, Roger.
Yes, you sometimes worry about a person moving towards the outside. You wonder if his steering is working or not. But apparently he is. He just pulled out of the traffic so as not to involve anyone else. And, of course, he's working frantically to get out of that automobile.
Boy, better get out quick. And he's out of the car. McElreath out of the car safely. That was a wild incident. It was so sudden.
And let's hope they get the fire out before it gets to the fuel tank. That must be an oil fire because you can see the fire, and of course there's a lot of black smoke.
A.J. Foyt leads, Andretti 2nd, McCluskey 3rd. From high overhead, you're looking down on the 1969 running of the Indianapolis 500. More than 300,000 people gathered to watch this year's event. And look at this battle for the lead. It's A.J. Foyt in car number 6 in first place, followed by car number 2, Mario Andretti, and then car number 82, Roger McCluskey, teammate of Foyt. In 4th place is Gary Bettenhausen, 5th, Wally Dallenbach, 6th, Lloyd Ruby, and 7th, Joe Leonard. That's the way they stand. Great racing right now. And pulling down is the 4th place car. Gary Bettenhausen, who had moved up very well, was driving a fine race, the son of the late Tony Bettenhausen, but it looks like he's out of it for 1969. And there goes McCluskey passing Mario Andretti. McCluskey has moved into 2nd place. A.J. Foyt is still the leader.
Well, Gary, you look great for a while, but what happened to the car?
Well, everything was going real fine, Chris, and then all of a sudden the piston dropped out of the engine.
broke a piston.
Back out on the track, there's a tremendous battle now for 4th place between Lloyd Ruby in car number 4 and Wally Dallenbach in car number 22. Ruby started in 20th place. He's really been moving.
He certainly has. He made a tremendous charge in the early stages of the race.
And now you see Dallenbach back out in front of him again. Battling for 4th position, and here is Roger McCluskey slowing down the 3rd place car.
And Jim, the way he was shaking the automobile, it would appear as though he might be out of fuel. He'll have to coast all the way to the pits. It's going to cost him a lot of time.
What had been a 3-way battle is now a 2-way battle then with A.J. Foyt and Mario Andretti. And now here comes the leader, Foyt, into the pits for his first scheduled pit stop of the afternoon.
And Jimmy's followed very closely by Mario Andretti.
Right, both leaders into the pits. Here comes Mario in his car number 2. Clint Brunner with the handkerchief around his neck there, waiting for him, his chief mechanic. This will be a race on the pit stop. See who gets out first. McCluskey has reached the pits. He is out of gas, it looks like. May take him a little while before he gets back out again. Meanwhile, the leader is now Lloyd Ruby, who has just passed Wally Dallenbach again. They'll both have to make pit stops very soon. There is Foyt going back out.
They're still working on Mario's car. He's a little slow this time, Jim. The important thing is that they get a full load of fuel because fuel is very marginal in today's race, and these men have to know that the tank is completely full.
Dallenbach is back out in front of Ruby again now. Real fine battle between these two cars. Wally Dallenbach, number 22. Lloyd Ruby, number 4. And into the pits is Carl Williams in car number 57. That's an important development because that is another Andy Granatelli car. Now there is one as far as Granatelli is concerned. His only hope is Mario Andretti. Pit stop still to come for Lloyd Ruby, and Ruby into the pits now. Dallenbach, the leader all by himself at the moment, but he'll have to come in very shortly, I think. And now for a word with Carl Williams. Let's go down to the pits and Chris Economaki.
What do you think about this Granatelli luck everyone seems to have every year?
Oh, I don't know. I think they try real hard, and I think it's a good crew. And I surely like to come back with him next year because he's bound to win one of these, and I sure like to be with him when he does.
Andy Granatelli, more grief for him at Indy. He has one car left, remember. Now into the pits comes Dallenbach, the only one of the leaders who has not made his first pit stop so far. This is going to put A.J. Foyt into the lead right there, with a pretty good lead at the moment over Lloyd Ruby and Mario Andretti, who are side by side right now, and there goes Andretti past Ruby into 2nd place. Joe Leonard has moved up into 4th. He's closing in, getting into the battle.
And Jim, Lloyd Ruby just passed Mario Andretti again, so we have a real battle as these cars all move in on A.J. Foyt. Apparently, A.J. has slowed down some, and these cars are gaining almost a second a lap.
Very shortly, we're going to have a 4-way battle for the lead again, it looks like. There is Leroy Yarborough into the pits, and this looks like a permanent pit stop because he's taking off his helmet and leaving the car. As it does become a 4-way battle for the lead, A.J. Foyt still in 1st place. Again, a look at Leonard, who's in 4th, just ahead of him, the other cars. And now here is Bud Tingelstad, smoking, and it looks like another one's leaving. Jack Brabham still in the pits. He's been in there for a long, long time now.
Looks as though they're putting his car back together, so apparently he plans to go back out.
And now look at this 4-car race. A.J. Foyt in the lead. In 2nd place is Lloyd Ruby, challenging him for the lead. 3rd place, Mario Andretti. In 4th place, Joe Leonard. The 3-time winner, and 3 fellas chasing him who have never won the race.
Each one of them, of course, trying desperately to get into that lead and pick up some of that much-coveted lap prize money.
Look at this. You'll seldom see this. A 4-way charge for the lead in Indianapolis. And there goes Ruby into 1st place. Lloyd Ruby, who twice has been denied victory here, when it seemed he had it in his hand, has taken the lead again. A.J. Foyt seems to be slowing down, Roger.
He certainly is, and there's Mario Andretti moving inside with Joe Leonard right behind. Apparently, he's got some kind of a problem, either some tire problem or something has gone wrong with his engine.
Meanwhile, Ruby stretches his lead just a little bit, and Joe Leonard now passes A.J. Foyt.
And Foyt was forced out of the groove momentarily. That was kind of a thrill, I'm sure.
Look at the crowd of more than 300,000. And here comes Mario Andretti going for the lead, right alongside Ruby, and Andretti has the lead again. Some of the best racing we've seen in a long, long time.
There's an accident.
It's Arnie Knepper into the wall in the fourth turn. You see, he's upright, he's moving around. He's going to be able to get out of the car. He really hit him pretty hard, though, I think.
He did it. He's standing on his automobile, waving at the oncoming traffic, trying to keep them from running into the automobile. I got to say, he's got a lot of courage to do that.
The yellow flag is out again at Indy. The yellow flag is still out at Indianapolis as A.J. Foyt rolls in for another pit stop. A quick reminder here that there will be more motor racing on ABC's Wide World of Sports next week. Live and in color by satellite, you'll see the famous Le Mans 24-hour Grand Prix of Endurance from Le Mans, France. Kind of a long pit stop, Roger?
Yes, it is, and actually it's a little bit early. However, he's probably trying to take advantage of the yellow flag.
Okay, the standings in the race then. Mario Andretti in the lead, Lloyd Ruby second, Joe Leonard third, and Wally Dallenbach is slowing down. He was in fourth position, and now as the green flag goes out, Dallenbach is out of the race, it looks like. Andretti still the leader with Ruby second, Leonard third. They're all on the same lap, but they're the only three cars on the same lap now. Moving into fourth position is this car, number 48, Dan Gurney. And there's AJ back in the pits again, so he must have real problems, Roger.
Yes, I'm sure he does, and with the speed with which he came in, he overshot his pit stop, or his pits, and actually, he is very upset by the development.
I'm sure of that. Andretti's still the leader in the race. Ruby second and Leonard third, all three of those cars. Quite closely bunched, and into the pits comes the leader, Mario Andretti in car number 2. The only remaining car of the Andy Granatelli entry. Trying to break that 23-year drought for the Granatelli brothers as car owners and mechanics. They've had long pit stops every time, Roger.
Yes, they have, but they have to because they have to be extremely careful and make certain that he gets a full load of fuel. Because if he went out there without a full load of fuel, he would have to make an extra pit stop, and he can't give that much time away to Lloyd Ruby.
Out on the track, Ruby has taken the lead, of course, with Leonard second at the moment, as Mario is starting back out on his way. Here comes Ruby into the pits.
Now, of course, the question is, how fast will Lloyd's pit stop be? Actually, if he could have a real fast one, he could go back onto the racetrack and retain the lead.
Right behind him, pulling in, is the fourth place car, Dan Gurney. And Joe Leonard is also into the pits. Can't watch everybody at once here, can you?
Certainly a lot of action going on right at the moment.
Routine stops, however. Lloyd Ruby finishing up his right now, starting back out onto the track. With something. Oh, look, Roger, there's fuel pouring out the side of the car. Looks like he started too soon while the hose was still in there.
Yes, apparently the hose was still attached. Either they couldn't get it loose or they didn't have it all the way full, and he started to leave the pits, and it appears as though they've torn the fuel tank loose from the side. And, of course, Lloyd is getting out, and you know he's got to be a very, very disgusted race driver at the moment.
In 1966, he was black flagged near the end while leading the race. Last year, he led until near the end, and his car broke down, and now that pure alcohol, which is what they use for fuel in these cars, is just running out, and with it, his hopes.
And as he walks around, Mario Andretti goes by in the lead, and certainly a comfortable lead at this point.
So Mario Andretti again is the leader in the race, ahead of Joe Leonard. Lloyd Ruby has had it again. We return to Indianapolis, where Mario Andretti is the leader in the Indianapolis 500. There is his car, number 2, the Bronner Hawk, owned by Andy Granatelli. In Gasoline Alley, Chris Economaki is standing by with Lloyd Ruby.
In 1966, Lloyd Ruby was leading the 500 when his engine developed an oil leak and he was black flagged while leading. Last year, he was leading the race when a coil failed. This year, he's out of the race while leading because of a malfunction in the pits. Lloyd, what happened down there?
Well, we just come in for our regular pit stop, and they already put the fuel in, and they closed the cap. And usually when they close the cap, I mean, they're through fuel, and I just took off too quick, and one hose wasn't disconnected, and
we pulled out a little bit and just pulled the whole section of the car out, the fuel tank.
What do you think about your luck here?
I just don't believe Lady Luck ever rides me at this place. Just one of them things.
Lloyd Ruby, one of the top drivers, he can't seem to get to the finish line.
Yes, it's all over again for the man from Texas, Lloyd Ruby. And back out on the track, Joe Leonard has been black flagged and is into the pits. In other words, they said he had to come in. Looks like he's been dropping water, Roger.
Yes, it appears as though that's what the problem is. The car is steaming. They've taken the hood off there.
Our man in motion, Chris, is down with him now.
Second place, Joe, and then the black flag. Why?
I don't know. They said, I think one of the little chicken duty safety guards was down on Dragon. I must have hit a piece in Knipper's wreck. I felt it thumping, Chris.
Think you'll get back in? Get back in?
I don't know. I wish we could hurry up. Otherwise, we're going to lose everything.
And so with both Ruby and Leonard out of the race, Andretti is all by himself in the lead.
Jimmy's almost out of control. Boy, he lost it there momentarily and almost hit the wall.
Back into the groove again, however, is Mario Andretti. Nobody on the same lap with him. Dan Gurney is second, and Gurney's teammate Dennis Holm is third, and there's A.J. Foyt out of the pits again, but far behind. We'll be back for the finish of the Indianapolis 500. Of course, he'll win the race. He's laps ahead of his nearest pursuers. In second place at the moment is Dennis Holm, and in third place, Holm's teammate Dan Gurney. There they are running together. 48 there is Gurney, and just ahead of him, 42, is Dennis Holm. There's Mike Mosley, who's been going well, and smoke coming out of his car now.
Yes, it appears as though he's got some very serious problems.
And coming into the pits is Dennis Holm. His teammate Dan Gurney had just nipped past him as Holm slowed down and came into the pits. Coming into the pits now, the leader. It's Mario Andretti in for his final pit stop of the day. And there is Mike Mosley, number 90. It looks like he's out of the race. Okay, again, about a 40-second pit stop for Mario Andretti, but it looks like they're just about set now. There he goes.
Oh, Clint fell down and apparently got either run over his foot or knocked out of the way.
Yeah, Clint Brunner, the chief mechanic, down there sitting on the pit wall now. Doesn't look like a serious thing, but he was momentarily knocked down by his own automobile. And so the day ended for Dennis Holm of New Zealand. With a few laps to go, Chris Economaki is with Andy Granatelli.
Andy, it's that time of the day. The scoreboard shows 190 laps. What's on your mind right now with the car leading?
What do you think? You gotta be kidding, of course.
No, I mean it, Andy. You've got to be thinking about something.
Just don't want to think about anything is all I can tell you.
The standings, Mario Andretti far out in front. Dan Gurney is second now, remember. Mark Donohue is third, and Bobby Unser, last year's winner, is fourth. We'll be back for the closing laps of the 1969 Indianapolis 500 in a minute. Mario Andretti is running away with the 1969 edition of the Indianapolis 500. If his car will just hold together for a few more laps, he's got it wrapped up. Into the pits now is Mark Donohue, who had been running third. It looks like they have problems. Now it's almost over again with the Granatelli car driven by Mario Andretti in the lead. That was Bobby Unser there, number 1, who is now in third place. Dan Gurney is second. Fourth is Mel Kenyon there. And in fifth place, surprisingly, car number 92, Peter Revson, the young man from the road courses of the world. The man of the hour, it appears, is Mario Andretti. There's his chief mechanic, Clint Bronner, checking things over. Let there be no last-minute mistake, not this year.
At a time like this, Jim, all you hear are those phony noises that come up into the automobile and make you think something is going wrong.
I'll bet that's right, huh? This huge crowd getting ready to welcome Mario as a champion. He has been the USAC, United States Automobile Club champion, a couple of times before, but never a winner at Indianapolis. This is the scene in the closing moments. The white flag, one lap for Mario Andretti. And Andy Granatelli can hardly stand it. Finally slipping on his red victory jacket. He still won't talk to anybody. And the crowd beginning to pay its tribute to Andretti. The young man who came to this country at the age of 14 as an immigrant from Italy. He had driven racing cars even before he came over here. This was the one he wanted more than anything else in the world. And here it comes, Mario. The checkered flag of victory. He's done it. And look at this scene in the pit.
Andy, you finally made it. You finally made it, Andy.
Unbelievable.
Have you ever been happier?
Unbelievable.
Unbelievable, that's for sure. The Granatelli brothers have finally done it with the most able assistance of the man in the car, Mario Andretti.
He's a great young race driver, and of course this will be a very popular victory because he's one of the most popular race drivers in the world today.
The race goes on technically for 5 minutes as far as other placings are concerned. That's what the checkered flag is about now, as Unser takes third. You saw Gurney take second. But passing through the pits on his way to victory lane is Mario. And here is victory lane. What a cherished place that is here in Indiana.
It certainly is, and you got to know that at this moment he still doesn't believe it.
The wreath of victory coming in. The Borg Warner trophy, emblematic of victory behind him, that huge trophy. The traditional sip of milk. No champagne here at Indianapolis, it's milk. And now, for the first time in history, the winning driver has been kissed first, not by the beauty queen, but by the winning owner. Mario, you have won the Indianapolis 500. You've won it like a champion in every respect. What thoughts are going through your mind now in the moments after victory?
Jim, just thoughts of happiness, believe me. I've been wanting to win this race so bad that you can't believe it, and I still can't believe it's true. I'm gonna have to be pinching myself all night until tomorrow.
When that Lotus Racer went into the wall and destroyed itself a week or so ago, did you think you still had a solid shot?
Well, I thought, here it is, you know, all our hopes were shattered, but we had a spare car and a very capable car, as you can see, so once we got it out on the track and we were able to see how fast we could go, then all of a sudden I became full of confidence again, and I guess that paid off.
It sure did, Mario. And here you sit, I think, with two of the most nervous people in this racetrack, especially for the last 10 laps, Andy Granatelli and, of course, Mario's wife. Andy, the Granatelli jinx is dead.
You know it always was. I figured that Mario and I had two negatives like this. We put two negatives together to make a plus.
Was there any problem, any worry during the race in the pits?
I'm still worrying. It's impossible. They must have made a mistake on the scoreboard.
Can you put it into words now? What does it mean?
It means a wonderful, wonderful feeling. But more than that, I feel so happy to be associated with Mario because we think a lot and do a lot like each other, and it's great to win together. Great.
Mrs. Andretti, can you put it in words at all?
No, no way. I can't believe it yet. We're just very, very happy. Thanks.
If the Granatellis and the Andrettis aren't the happiest families in racing, then God didn't make little green apples, and it don't rain in Indianapolis in the summertime. The executive producer of ABC's Wide World of Sports is Roone Arledge. The coordinating producer, Jim Spence. Indianapolis 500 produced by Chet Forte and directed by Lou Volpicelli. U.S. Open Preview produced and directed by Fred Hutchison. Our associate director at Indianapolis was Don Ohlmeyer. Remember, next Saturday on ABC's Wide World of Sports, live from France, the 24 Hours of Le Mans Automobile Racing Classic. Also next Saturday here on ABC, the U.S. Open Golf Championship from Houston. For now, this is Jim McKay, along with Roger Ward and Chrissy Katamaki, saying so long from Indianapolis. Air travel arrangements for ABC's Wide World of Sports made through United Airlines, who also furnished promotional consideration. Today's program was pre-recorded. Spanning the globe to bring you the constant variety of sport, the thrill of victory, and the agony of defeat. The
the human drama of athletic competition. This has been ABC's Wide World of Sports.